Hello, I'm Ronnie Eldridge. Welcome to Eldridge and Company. Late last year, voters on the Upper West Side enthusiastically re-elected Helen Rosenthal to the City Council. Representing the 6th Council District, she brings that special voice that this district demands to the council. She's my guest today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're the most dedicated council member I think I've ever met, and I know a couple of them. It seems to me you work 18 hours a day at least.
I love my job. I feel very lucky to have it. You know, it's just a good fit for who I am. I love these issues. I love public policy. I think this is a good platform that one can use to make good public policy as well as take care of people's individual needs. I'm really driven by how to make government work better for people. And you know, you've always teased me about this, but I am very detail driven. I like the details. I think by looking at the details, you can see why something works or doesn't work, and then cobble together making it work better. But that takes a lot of time to do that. So I try very hard to follow your lead in seeing the big picture and having a vision. And that is something that I think I've honed over the last 4 years, something that you and I have talked about a lot.
We should explain that we're old friends.
Yes.
And that I used to represent the district.
So you represented the district 2 or 3 people ago, I think 2. Mm-hmm. And you know what makes this district ticks. Plus, I think you obviously have a great vision for how one council member can operate among many. So our district, once on the Upper West Side, you know, one can think that the Upper West Side is how the world works. And the truth is we're in such a bubble, a wonderful bubble on the Upper West Side. But the issues citywide are serious, need to be addressed. And I think they need people like us who can bring a very liberal point of view to dealing with, real issues, sad, troublesome issues in poor districts.
Well, you came from a background of community work. I mean, chair of a community board, a person who got a master's degree in public health, who worked in the budget division of the city. So you came from a very, professional kind of background. You didn't come out of clubs.
Right.
You weren't a political being. So that's what makes you, I think, although, I mean, it's so interesting to see how you get plucked into this council. The other interesting thing is when you said we're in a bubble on the West Side, the city council is basically a suburban body, isn't it?
Suburban, but also very urban.
It's getting more and more urban with a different development in the neighborhoods, right?
Yes.
I think when I was in council, we didn't have all of the movement into a lot of, and a lot of that big real estate development and everything.
But also suburban in the sense of
hometown.
Almost rural-ish.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at Staten Island, not Debbie Rose's district, which is very urban, but the larger Staten Island area, very suburban. And in Queens and far out in the Bronx, for sure, Riverdale, and then also around Throgs Neck Bridge. Those are suburbs.
You're convinced the council is an important legislative body?
There's no question. I mean, as a council, we can do so many things. As a city, we can do so many things. And I think people undervalue what council members can do and how much the city can shape laws to change behavior. I mean, people always talk about Bloomberg and no smoking in restaurants. That was revolutionary. That's now across the world that you can't smoke in a restaurant. That was done legislatively, which means the city council had to pass a law for that to happen. And if you had people in the body who didn't want that to happen, it wouldn't have. So it can impact in ginormous ways. Also, you know, what advertisements happen in the city, where advertising can happen, and what's in those advertisements. What the affordability level, how we define affordability in new construction, that's decided by the city council. How much money we spend on senior centers and daycare centers and the police and transportation, that's decided in the city council. The mayor is responsible for administering those programs and making sure they run properly. The city council's job is to have oversight, to critique that work, to decide how much money should be spent there. And hopefully the way we make those decisions is by what we see in our own offices. So everyday constituents come into my office now on Columbus Avenue, just south of Goddard Riverside, one of our senior and community centers in the 87th Street. And, you know, it's like a poll every day. You know, I can have a sense of people are coming in to talk about what. I can look at 311 data and say, why are people calling 311? What services are they asking for? The one piece that's missing is all those people who are frustrated with government, who have tried so hard and are now have given up. Those are the people who are hardest to reach. In other words, people with disabilities, they've given up on government. Government has closed the door in terms of serving them. You can't get through, if you're hard of hearing, you can't get through to a city agency. You know, if you're blind or low vision, you can't get through to a city agency. If you're in a wheelchair, you can go to a public meeting, and if you can get in other words, if there's an elevator or a ramp, you can get there, maybe, but then is the proper seating there for you? If you're in a wheelchair and you're hard of hearing, anyway, I can go on and on. The same is true for some noise complaints or road complaints. They've just given up on government. And one of the things I'm passionate about is opening the door back up, you know, saying don't give up yet on government. Let's
it's a very important thing, because I have had a lot of experience. I've worked both for a mayor and in the city council, and I don't know who to complain to.
And in many ways, even with the websites
and even
being
knowing
available,
it's overwhelming.
You can't get through. Our office can't get through, and we're supposed to be the people who can. So I think government has fallen down on the job in many ways, even with technology supposedly opening up the door. You go to a website, there's no way to get through.
I have the feeling that the city council is not appreciated by most people. Do you think, I mean, why is that? Why don't people pay attention more to the voting? And why can you get elected to the city council with what, 6,000, 5,000, 4,000 votes?
Right, or the total vote turnout
Yeah.
is 6,000 or 7,000.
Right.
So all you need is a couple of thousand
Right.
to win.
And your district, you got the highest vote of any district in the city.
It's the Upper West Side.
Worked very hard.
Yes, but
And you are in an, fairly enlightened district. So why is it? Why don't we consider the council? I mean, it's the same question that you said, that we don't have enough people talking about its importance, I guess.
so a whole myriad, of reasons. So I think one is that we're considered a democratic town. So people think their vote doesn't count. They wait till the general, whoever dukes it out in the primary, it doesn't matter, they're all the same. Whoever wins, great, I'll vote for the Democrat. There are so many people who I'll say to people, very smart, engaged people, and I'll say, did you vote in the last election? They're like, of course, I voted.
Yeah.
And I'm like, which one?
Yeah.
Who's your city council person? They have no idea.
Is it because we don't teach civics?
I
Or
think
do we
that's
teach
part of
civics?
it.
And
I think that's part of it. I think people are also just incredibly cynical now and jaded. Government doesn't work for them, so why should they care? Why should they vote? And one of the things that I try to encourage people to do is hold their elected officials' feet to the fire. And even if you say that to somebody, they have to stop and think, well, what does that mean? What am I holding them to the fire about? And then, well, what does a city council person do for me? But I say that all the time. And one of the ideas that you had for me when I first started 4 years ago was to do some sort of voter engagement program for high school students.
I know, I was going to talk about that, yes.
And it took off. We did it. It was really hard to do. But when my office really leaned in and organized it, again, in a very detailed way, with the specific high schools and specific nonpartisan groups, connecting them and having a curriculum, the DOE came through with helping us with a curriculum. You know, nonpartisan groups really want to get into the high schools. Getting into the high schools is very challenging. The DOE is resistant as an entity to having outsiders come in, and to, you know, the notion of organizing seniors to come into a single place at a single time appears to be very challenging.
That's so, that's so incomprehensible to me.
Yeah. And Carmen Farina, the chancellor, is wild about the idea, loves it. Every time she sees me, she says, you know, in Turkey, they, you know, give you a day off work and you have to have a purple stamp on your thumb or else you're extra, you know, you're not loved. So she's committed at the top, but somehow that middle level of bureaucracy impedes good things from happening in high schools or in schools in general. The bureaucracy is the problem from getting that done. If we talk about NYCHA, I know I'm just sort of moving on to another topic, but if you look at public housing and all the problems we've been having recently, lead paint or mold, it's that middle bureaucracy, you know, that I wish city government would allow their leaders to just eliminate of middle level bureaucracy and just have the ideas flow right to the people doing the work.
Yeah, because we don't want a lot of people out of work.
I'm not suggesting that. And no, and in fact, I have great designs for our 250,000 municipal employees. And I'm excited about a couple of projects to work on with them. But I just mean the bureaucracy is too thick. The red tape.
Procedures and the whole thing, it's just crazy. I learned early on that just as long as somebody puts a signature on the line, it frequently just goes through. But sometimes that doesn't work. Anyway, you were the chair of the Contracts Committee. You're still on that committee.
Yes.
And you really enjoyed that. But
I loved it. It was very detail-oriented. And we achieved good procurement reform. We put Vendex online. We set up new, Vendex is the contract paperwork. It's all digitalized now. Not a PDF, you know, it's digitalized. You input data and that data stays, and you can change data if it changes. We set up new systems for getting information out to bidders, so it's all digitalized now, and payment, invoicing, moving through the contract process. It should expedite things beautifully. I'm very proud of those accomplishments.
All right, I hope a lot of the nonprofits get paid faster.
That's the goal.
Now you're chair of the Women's Committee, which is a different kind of subject, right?
Yeah.
And you're very active in trying to recruit women into public service. Why?
Well, women bring a different lens, full stop. You know, it is a crime that we only have 11 of the 51 members are women. There are many committees on the council now where there's no woman on the committee.
Isn't it?
And the caliber of women in the council now is so high. People are powerhouses. They're thoughtful. They ask questions. They don't come in. I love my male colleagues, but you know, the tendency is to shoot for a title, right? Get the title. Don't think about whether or not you have any experience, but just get that title, and then shoot from the hip, and leave the room. And what I find in my female colleagues now is that they're in the room, they're thinking very hard, they're asking the basic questions that we all say. I always say, the stupid questions are the exact right questions
Exactly.
to ask.
Absolutely.
And they're in there asking the stupid questions. So it's a pleasure to work with these women. We need more of them in city government, full stop. It'll change everything.
Is it that men are afraid to ask questions that they think are stupid? And for some reason, women, A, they're afraid to run because they think they don't know enough, right? And B, they look at an issue in a very sensible, practical way.
Yes.
And they don't try to be part of the management of the issue. They want to know really more what the issue is.
Exactly. And I also think that, if you go back, white men have had the privilege of voting and running things. They have a 150-year lead. Black people weren't given the right to vote or weren't really able to vote even until the 1960s.
Right.
Talk about, running without two legs. And women weren't given the right to the vote until the 1920s. And, we haven't been leading, we haven't been elected officials. So the whole system is set up for white men still. And the rules are meant to obfuscate. They're meant to look like mysterious, arcane things. And the truth of the matter is, take a minute to just peel back one or two layers. It's not hard at all. The rules are very basic. Anyone can do this. Petitioning and raising money. These are doable things. They should not be seen as obstacles. And once they're not obstacles, and once women realize that the way you win is you get more votes than the other guy. It's not even more endorsements or more money. And especially at the city council level, where there are such great campaign finance rules. You only have to raise a certain amount of money, and after that, it's matched 6-1. There really should be no hurdles anymore. And women need to say, okay, I have experience. I'm going to go for it. There should be nothing to hold you back. You have to, get rid of all those demons in your head. Just get rid of them.
What do you count as experience? That's another thing.
In my mind's eye, if you are running your household, you have experience.
If you go to
Full stop.
If you go to the stores, you see what's.
The idea that you can accomplish something by the end of the day. You have to be a critical thinker in order to get those things done. Those women who then put themselves out there and ask to be a class in their school, to be a class representative. My goodness, once you're a class representative, you're having to manage 30, 50, 80 families and make sure you're getting the word out, you're meeting their needs, you're communicating between the school and those parents. Boom, run for office. If you want to be the class, the school PA president, or even serve on the PA, if you're running the auction at your school, you are overqualified, so you have to run for office.
So we have to demystify.
Yeah, it needs to all be demystified. And there are so many, the season is ripe. There are so many groups out there. All you have to Google, if you're in New York City watching this program, Google women running for office, and there will be 3 training programs that pop up, all of which are there to serve you to make it easier for you to run. The Broad Room, Vote, Run, Lead, Emily's Listen, Eleanor Legacy, they run training programs. Yale runs a training program. Just go to the training program. It'll all be demystified, and get a circle of people around you who believe in you, and you can run for office, and you'll win. You'll win.
And
call
if you
me
just
and
talk,
call my office.
and talk straight talk, right?
Yes, that's the other thing. I think that voters are hungry for somebody who doesn't speak in
rhetoric.
platitudes.
Right.
Right. And the rhetoric. They're tired of that. They want honest people who will speak to them honestly with their own experience. That's all they want. That's all I've ever been. I've never known how to do the platitudes. I still struggle with that. And the first thing I'd like to do as chair of the Committee on Women is address sexual harassment in the workplace. It's the obvious thing to do. It's the time to do it. We've been given the gift of, in the public sphere, people
first
who are
time.
known
Right.
publicly, Harvey Weinstein or Matt Lauer, all of that is being reported on. People are in droves coming out in Twitter and Facebook talking about Me Too. With the Aziz Ansari case now, people are realizing that bad dates count. You know, there is sexual harassment doesn't have to mean something that would land somebody in jail.
It's like an old-fashioned consciousness-raising thing.
That's
where
right.
The women, where a woman in a group would say, "This happened to me," or "This is what I feel," and the other woman would say, "What? That's the same thing the way I feel."
Yes.
So that you've got a collective, bigger support.
That's exactly right. And it's across the whole continuum.
Yeah.
So I think government, and I've spoken to Mayor de Blasio about this. I've spoken with the commissioner on the Commission for Gender Equity. We are in it to win it, to get rid of sexual harassment in the workforce for 250,000 municipal employees. If it's happening to women in the public sphere, it's happening to women in the Department of Sanitation. And that's where we have to root it out and where we can. This should be low-hanging fruit for government right now. And there are best practices out there. The County of LA is doing extraordinary things, and their number of complaints is increasing over time, which is great, because that's what you need to see, just like the reporting of rape.
And they're
to
being
the-
judiciously settled, right?
Very judiciously, and there's a thoughtful system, and people are talking about it and coming out.
So
There's
let's,
hope.
Let's go beyond for the whole city. What do you think the biggest problem is facing us now?
Affordable housing, there's just no question. And the entire system is rigged for wealthy people and for developers and for the landlords who are unscrupulous. There are many landlords who are wonderful people, and my office works with them to make sure the system works for them too. But there are the, bad actors who are ruining it for the rest of us. And the 1% who have bought the politicians, upstate politicians, citywide electeds, whatever it is, statewide electeds, who have given so much money. The IDC, I mean, the amount of
That's
money.
the independent group of Democrats who vote
the
with
breakaway
Republicans.
Senate Democrats who vote with Republicans who will not allow a bill to help tenants even get introduced to the floor in the Senate. So someone who's a member of the IDC can say, "Oh, I'm introducing all this great legislation on behalf of, tenants." No way in hell that will go forward. Sorry if I wasn't supposed to use that word.
That's it.
But, that is the great charade. And no matter how much money these senators are bringing into their district to beautify schools, to help with public housing, it's a spit in the face of tenants who are being harassed and evicted out of their homes. And there are laws that could be passed to protect them, and we could start to address the affordability crisis. The zoning in the city is just, been a playground for the last 20 years.
There hasn't been a comprehensive plan passed since, I think, the Lindsay days.
Well,
And
it's
this-
not even that. I mean, because hypothetically we passed mandatory inclusionary housing, that will help to some degree. This is a new zoning that says in certain areas of the city you can only build now if you include affordable housing. Fantastic. It's 20 years too late. And
Is it truly affordable? It is.
yes,
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
affordable, you define
Yeah.
it different ways. Many people would say it's not, and surely that is the case. I mean, in the Bronx, affordability, means affordable for people who make $24,000 a year for a family of four. So yes, that is a real issue. But, developers in my neck of the woods And in East Village, in the on the west side, can still build 80-story buildings as of right. And there are still areas where they can carve out, and the skyscrapers are going to continue to go up. And there is a flood in the luxury housing market where regular people don't get anything out of it. And that will continue until we keep all of our politicians' feet to the fire to stop that from happening. But the system is set up so that'll never happen because there are no campaign finance rules at the state level, and developers continue to fill the coffers of politicians with hundreds, millions of dollars.
So we've run out of time, but one important question. You're supporting women candidates, and are there women opposing members of the IDC, which is the state independent group?
Yes, and the one I'm going to give a huge plug to is Jessica Ramos, who's running against Peralta. I just love her. She's running, and she's terrific. I haven't met, there is a woman who's running against Jeff Klein. I'll do everything I can to support her.
Ms. Biaggi, I don't know what her first name is.
And Jeff Klein is the leader of the independent breakaway Democrat group. Look, if he were to open the door to tenants and really allow these bills to come to the floor to ensure rent-regulated apartments continue, God bless him, I have no problem with him, right? If he were to turn over leadership to Democrats, which he is elected to do, and Andrea Stewart Cousins were the leader of the Democratic Party, as she should be, I'm all for him. But if he's going to stand in the way of that, then I'm supporting people who are going to run against him to bring real public policy that residents need to the state Senate.
Well, I support your candidacy always, and I'm so glad that we have somebody like you in the City Council, and I hope that we have more women like you in all our legislative bodies. So,
with mentors like you, Ronnie,
please,
more women will be out there.
Okay, thank you, Helen Rosenthal. We at CUNY TV always like to hear from our viewers. So if you have any subjects you'd like to explore or people you'd like to hear, please let us know. Write to us at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10016, or go to our website, cuny.tv, and click on Contact Us. We look forward to hearing from you.